Hello, everybody. Welcome along. My name is Benjamin Bloom. This is the Benjamin Bloom Football Channel. Please leave your bias well and truly at the door and join us for our championship preview and predictions round 41. It's been a very quick week, hasn't it? With Easter Monday going into the Tuesday. We did the review show, obviously, prior to those last couple of games, Norwich and Huddersfield and Brentford and Birmingham. And then I was going to have the day off yesterday. And then my football club literally got sold at 11 yesterday morning. So much for a day off. But we're here yet again for the 41st time this season. Well, I'm sure we've split the predictions up before. There's probably more than 41 to embarrass ourselves and predict the results and have a little bit of a conversation about this next round of games, round 41 in the championship. Now, most teams 6 to go. There are still a few 39s in there. And of course, Rotherham's 36, which we're finally fixing next week. Rotherham are actually going to catch up and play these games in hand we've been talking about for a couple of months. What we are going to do here is we're going to predict each and every result. You can see them ticking along the bottom. That is the order. We're going to go from top down to bottom and talk about each one and try and make a prediction. Before we do that, let me know that you can see me, hear me loudly and clearly. We're going to get to your comments imminently. But first of all, let's just say a couple of thank yous and do a couple of plugs. Thank you to the Donovan brothers who sponsor this show in loving memory of Michael, South East London, lifelong Millwall fan and admirer of this show. Thank you to the Donovans in the memory of their late brother. Great stuff. You can get involved on Patreon as well. You can see down there this afternoon. I think I'm on duty doing a bit of ferrying Shaylee around for a bit. But then I will do the Patreon Q&A. So annoyingly, I've got one hair. I can see it across my face, but I'm in reverse. Where's that going? Should I put it there? No, I don't know. Don't know if that's any better, is it? Are we sorted? Hair is sorted. There we go. Get involved over on Patreon Q&A later today. Super chat at any point during the broadcast. You can become the king of the bin. And I now also own Pedant Corner, where I will put you if you correct and correct that if you want, my pronunciation. Obviously, hit like, whether you're watching on Facebook or Twitter, YouTube, subscribe, over 15,000 subscribers now. Happy days. Right, here are your round 41 fixtures, which we are going to predict. On Friday night, Watford, Reading, then Millwall, Swansea. It's the 12:30. That'll be the first game of the Saturday Super Stream. We'll do all of that, I reckon. Although there may not be many goals, I wouldn't have thought. Barnsley, Borough, Birmingham, Stoke, Bournemouth, Coventry, Bristol City, Forest, Cardiff, Blackburn, Derby, Norwich, Huddersfield, Rotherham, Preston, Brentford, QPR, Wednesday, and Wickham versus Luton are our games. Let's get in there straight away with game number 1, which could see Norwich City promoted back to the Premier League. We are at that point now where it could happen this weekend. Do your maths really quickly. If Norwich win, they will move on to 90 points. Forget Watford for a second. So that would mean Brentford's maximum total from 7 games would be 91. So if Brentford were to lose, they would stay on 70, and then their maximum total would be 88. Oh, in fact, a Brentford draw as well would do it for Norwich. They need to win Brentford to move on to 82, and then they could get to the 91. And similarly for Swansea, a Swansea win, their maximum total then from the remaining 6 would be 90. So it could be done for Norwich. And of course, with the slips from Brentford and Swansea of late, neither of them have won any games in their last 4. So it could be happening. But we must not forget, and we haven't mentioned, there is an opponent here, and that opponent is Derby County. So away Norwich go to Derby. And when you think about opponents, well, Derby have at times this season been quite a tricky opponent for a few teams. I know they've got a bit of a run on Norwich. By the way, I should be saying, get your predictions in. Derby, draw, or Norwich. Derby have a habit of beating Norwich, don't they? Over traditionally, if you believe results 3 years ago or 5 years ago have anything to do with what's going to go on Saturday. But we did see sort of Derby match up and sit in against a couple of teams, and of course, infamously on the watch along against Barnsley, literally just go, okay, fine, whatever, we'll take 0-0 and we'll sling long balls down at each other all game. So what I'm saying is don't expect another 7-0 where we knew Huddersfield were going to be nice and open and kind of play into Norwich's hands. I don't think Derby will do that, but of course, Norwich are strong favourites in this one. Predictions, please. Derby, draw, or Norwich. Let's look at the homes and aways. And it will not surprise you to know that Norwich are the best away team in the league. They did draw last time out in their previous away game at Preston, although that was a deflected 94th minute equaliser. So there could be another W in that column. And hey, they could already be promoted, couldn't they? Derby's home form, not bad lately. Just the one defeat in there of late. That was to Millwall. There's a draw against Brentford. I know they're slipping. A win against Luton. A draw in the derby against Forest. And a win against Huddersfield. It's only the one defeat in the last 5. Shall we go and have a look and see what you guys are saying in the chat? Sorry, millions of comments in here. Right, let me just say thank you to Owen. We'll drink to you. Hard to be biased towards Swansea at the moment. Hoping we stay in the top 6 logo. Thank you very much for the super chat, Owen. Very, very kind. Right, let's get some predictions in here from you guys. What are you saying? Norwich. If Huddersfield can't beat Norwich, Derby have no chance. See, I don't agree with that, Carl. I think they are very different opponents. Norwich. Can't see Norwich losing or drawing. And Brentford, I won't use that B word, Ben, but I know what you mean. Norwich. Okay, we are unanimous on this. Sorry if you've commented and I haven't scrolled up any further. Let's go with this. And our first prediction our first prediction of the day will be away Norwich to beat Derby. And that could mean promotion, depending on what we say in the next the next 3 predictions, in fact. So let's move on to Watford versus Reading. Get your predictions in, please. Watford, draw, or Reading. And of course, we are sensible, hopefully, to mention Watford's ludicrously good home record. Let me just switch over to the correct view. Predictions in, please. Watford draw or Reading. Obviously, this will be a watch along on Friday night. Join me from 7:30 for this one. Watford looking to go to 82 points with 5 to play. We know the average promotion total has been 85 for second place over the last 10 years. So they're closing in on that 10-year average, and they have a 9-point lead over Brentford, a 10-point lead over Swansea. A win will give them, you do the maths, 12 and then 13 points with Brentford and Swansea to play the next day. Get your predictions in, Watford, draw, or Reading, and look at that. We are in record-breaking territory now for Watford. I did look this up, and I think, was it 18 wins they needed? They possibly could do it. 50 points already at Vicarage Road this season, and 16 wins from 20. Sublime home form from Watford. Of course, their winning streak ended, but just the one draw in, I think still 10 wins in 11 or 10 wins in 12 or something crazy like that for Watford. There's the Reading away form. Not bad. 7th in the division. Not many wins in there of late, and a few near misses as well. If Lucas Zhao sticks that one in against Barnsley, there's a missed penalty, wasn't there? I think against Wickham as well. Just the win against Rotherham in the last 5. The seasonal total is decent, however, for Reading. Little bit of a sort of switch around. Zhao was on the bench last time, wasn't he? Elise really peaking nicely at the end of the season as well. But speaking of peaking nicely, that would describe Watford down to a T, wouldn't it, with their magnificent run at the moment. And honestly, there's still a sense Watford have never been in top gear this season, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? You just have that kind of feel about them, but getting the job done at home, and the 4-3-3 and Cisco and all of that good stuff working a treat for Watford. And I mean, in terms of Watford sort of promotion aspirations, if they go to 82 and you get the scenario that the Norwich fans and the Watford fans both want, that is no one having more than 70 points by the end of the weekend, essentially. Third place tied, not rising. That means Brentford lose, Swansea draw, Barnsley draw. Then a 12-point lead would put Watford 2 games from promotion if they get the perfect storm towards them. In the interest of balance, there is a perfect storm against Watford where they lose and then Brentford and Swansea win games in hand, and then the head-to-heads become important. That is not the case at the moment. Right, any predictions in here? What do we got? Predictions, please, in this one. 2-2, Reading. Wow. Draw. Morrison and McIntyre out for the season. Swift could be back. Draw. Home. My heart couldn't take a 3-2. 2-0 Watford. Draw. Watford. Plenty in here. Is there any difference between a bee and a hornet emoji? Are you using the right ones here, Max and Dan? Watford fans out in force today. Welcome, Watford fans. Remember, if you do get promoted, we'll still be covering you on the Dearly Departed shows next season. There we go. How can I go against this home record? Sorry, Reading fans. Home. Let's go for a home win and a 53rd home point for Watford. So far, we're predicting the top 2 to win. Obviously, there's plenty of love for Reading in there as well, but me personally. So this could be a big day then, depending on what we say for the next fixtures. Let's talk about Brentford, who go to Preston. Now, as I have suggested, and we will remind you once again of the state of play here, if our 2 predictions are correct and Norwich and Watford both win, that's 90 for Norwich, 82 for Watford. I mean, it's ridiculous that we're talking about someone with 90 points and promotion, and it's just a matter of when and which hour they get promoted rather than if. You know what we're saying, though. So that would mean that if Brentford did not beat Preston, so if they drew to Preston, they would be on 71, and that would mean their maximum total would then be 89. So if we call this a draw, we're depending on what we're saying for Swansea as well, we're potentially promoting Norwich this weekend. So the question is, what is going to happen? You tell me. It's an away game. Give me a prediction. Preston, draw, or Brentford. And Brentford are not in good form. The top scorers in the division just not clicking at the moment. And the goals are not going in. 4 consecutive draws for Brentford, of course. And just some sense that they just look unbalanced, don't they? Without Henry and Dalsgaard, the fullbacks, and partnering Janelt and who's the other defensive midfielder in there? Norgard. Feels like Marcondes, and they're missing De Silva. Marcondes not playing as well. Just not as finely tuned as we've seen them. Preston have got 48 now, so they may be on the beach or sort of walking along the promenade to the beach, if you know what I mean. Good win for Preston. Great win, in fact, because it was at Swansea, wasn't it? Away from home. Can they do the damage to the 2 faltering teams? Get your predictions in, please. Preston, draw, or Brentford. There's the home form. Preston's home form is not good. Last 2 games, they're really difficult run for Preston, isn't it? Having Norwich and Swansea and Brentford all in a row, 1, 2, or 3 of the top 4, essentially very quickly. Not many wins in there and not many wins throughout the season. Brentford's away form is the second best in the division, second most points. Look at Barnsley up there. Wow. Second most points accumulated by any team, along with Barnsley and Cardiff this season. You can see Swansea's game in hand there away from home as well. We'll talk about them in a second. So what are your predictions in this one? Preston, draw, or Brentford? Bear in mind, if you're not calling a Brentford win here, you may be promoting Norwich this weekend, this Saturday. What we saying here? Draw, the mighty Bees, Brentford, Preston, McAvoy in there, isn't he? Brentford, draw. Draw, Preston, Brentford, draw. 0-0, both teams struggling. Preston, draw. Just put your predictions in once, guys, so we don't. Everyone can get their say on the ones I'm reading out. Draw, home, draw, Brentford, Preston to do the double over. Yeah, it would be, wouldn't it? Draw, Brentford, 0-0. There's a Brentford shirt in there as well. So honesty there. Interesting. I'm going to throw a spanner in the works here. Sorry, Norwich fans. I could be wrong, and we'll be congratulating you on promotion at the end of the weekend. But away, I don't know. I can't see Brentford stopping clicking for a 5th straight game. I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again. I'm going to go for an away win, which would mean Norwich likely promoted then the following week in the Sky game. Sky are hoping this is true, against Bournemouth. So I'm going to go for an away win there. So far, I've got Norwich winning at Derby. I've got Watford beating Reading. I've got Brentford gone with all the favourites, actually. Boring old me. There we go. Let's move on to Millwall versus Swansea. This is the other key game as it pertains to a possible promotion occurring this weekend for our leaders, Norwich. And it's the second game. We've got Watford and Reading. It's the first game on Friday night. This is the 12:30 game on the Saturday. We are talking Swansea visiting Millwall. And can I call them Inform Millwall? Yes, I can. So, sorry, Swansea fans. I'm going to preface out of form Swansea, horribly out of form Swansea, with Inform Millwall and a visit to the Den. Get your predictions in here. Is it Millwall? Is it a draw? Is it Swansea? We were saying Rowett loves a draw for the most part, but Millwall haven't drawn in a while, have they? And certainly the record, we were looking at the record amount of draws, that's sort of dissipated over the past 8-9 games, hasn't it? Someone will tell me in the chat how many it is since Millwall drew. And Swansea just off the edge of a cliff form-wise. We said for the longest time, narrow margins with Swansea. They were outperforming the attacking XG and the defensive XG, winning tight games and beautifully sliding up towards those automatic positions. But really, since that Huddersfield game, things haven't been right. And that has culminated in this 4-game losing streak for the Swans. A horrible choke for Steve Cooper and the Swans here. And they're probably visiting Millwall at a bad time because look at that, 4 wins in 5 for Mill. Get your predictions in, please. Millwall, draw, or Swansea. There's the home form, 3 wins in 4 for Millwall. And we used to bring these home tables up. And probably about 6-8 weeks ago, Millwall were right down in the bottom 6 at home. And it's picked up of late since the draws have stopped. Essentially, Swansea's away form, well, like all of their form, has been very good up until recently and gone off a cliff. So double away defeats there. At Birmingham, a last-second penalty, wasn't it, for Birmingham? But they did get a bit taken to school by Bournemouth, didn't they? A 3-0 hammering. What are you guys saying in the chat here? Millwall, draw, or Swansea? Let's have a look. What do you say? Millwall, draw. Millwall. 8 since Millwall drew. Thank you. Millwall 4-0. Says Five Bellies, who I know to be a Swansea fan as well. Millwall. Draw. Millwall. Wow. Look at this. Not confident of a Swansea upturn. So I'm going to hedge here. I've not played my joker yet, have I either? Draw. I think it'll be a back to basics, very simplistic performance from Steve Cooper. He went to the back four, didn't he? Ditched the back three. It's Hail Mary time for Swansea. And in terms of the Hail Mary, you often just see the simplistic approach, and it's don't lose, prepare for the playoffs type thing. So I'm going to go for a draw. So I do not have Norwich promoted this weekend because I think Brentford could win at Preston. However, let me repeat this one more time. And we'll do this with the table in front of us. If Norwich beat Derby and go to 90 points, then Brentford and Swansea not winning would be enough for a Norwich promotion. Of course, Norwich could throw a spanner in the works here and not beat Derby, but we're assuming that may well be the case. And I do say that with the knowledge, because I was there at the game, that Derby did win at Carrow Road. This was early in the season with Farkas still arguing with Cantwell and Buendia, and Norwich not having clicked in any way similar to they have now. Okay, yes, Philip Koku was the Derby manager at the time. Right, let's move on, guys, and look at the, should we call it, let's call it as it is, the 5th, 6th, 7th picture. We don't really need to include Cardiff in this, or indeed Millwall, who are 7 points off Bournemouth, having played a game more as well. So we're talking the 5th, 6th, 7th picture, i.e. 2 teams for 3 for that 5th and 6th position. Easy for me to say. And remember, at the weekend, they all won. Each one of the tide rose together, as it has a habit of doing so. So we're talking Barnsley versus Borough. Get your predictions in, please. Barnsley, draw, or Borough in this one. Barnsley keeping up the pace. It had been a minor slip, hadn't it, with the defeat to Sheffield Wednesday and then the draw against Reading. But you know me and my 2 point per game standard. 2 points per game from the last 2 games. So that sounds like enough of a pickup to me to say that, you know, the Barnsley slip isn't really a slip if it's only 2 games there of 1 point across 2 games. However, if we do have a defeat in this one for Barnsley, then it would go to 4 points from 4 games, and you don't really want that in the chase. Obviously, the good news for Barnsley and Bournemouth fans this weekend is that Reading have got to go to Watford. That's the best news possible, really, because who are the only winners at Watford? Someone remind me, Cardiff won and QPR, the only winners at Watford all season. And they have an imperious home record with 50 points, don't they? So Barnsley looking probably 68 points. If Barnsley were to win 2 more games, they'd have 74. So if there is going to be a chase and all 3 teams keep winning, we could get a high tide season here. And someone could miss out with, say, 75 points or something, which you'd feel would be unlucky. But hey, wrong place, wrong time, and all that. We'll see what these 3 do between now and the end of the season. Borough, decent draw, wasn't it, against Watford at the weekend? They've been too inconsistent, not really firing in front of goal. Neil Warnock calling out the strikers as well. Homes and aways. So Barnsley, not great at home. Look at that over the past 3 games. Obviously, across the season, nice, 7th place. But draw, defeat, draw against Derby, Wednesday and Reading. So no home win in 3. Borough away from home, 3 straight defeats. Now, what interests me is the tactical makeup of this game. Because if there's one guy who and obviously Barnsley are an innovative team. If there's one guy who will go and take a massive turd all over that, to excuse my French, it's Neil Warnock. He'll love to. I wonder if he'll take the Wayne Rooney approach. Remember, Warnock wasn't afraid to go and double mark Norwich's wide players, was he, and get a 0-0 there and frustrate Buendia into getting sent off. It just depends whether they can keep up with the Barnsley energy, as we say about everybody else. At the moment, Phil says Barnsley, Cormac, Barnsley, draw. Barnsley, I'm on the Barnsley train. There we go. Barnsley could go 3rd or 7th. Yeah, there you go. Fine margins. Borough, draw. Barnsley, draw. Barnsley, home. Barnsley, draw. Barnsley, draw. Lots of draws in this one. Borough, Barnsley. I think that'll do. Fairly mixed. Now, I've been accused recently of denigrating my duties and jumping off the Barnsley train. So I'm going to get back aboard it this weekend. I think Borough might be a little bit beachy for me at the moment. So home, and whatever Warnock has up his sleeve, perhaps Ishmael and the pressing and the thrilling directness of Barnsley may be too much for Borough. Let's go for a Barnsley victory, which would, by my estimations and my other predictions, take them to 71, which put them above Swansea, I think, because I've got Swansea drawing at Millwall, haven't I? So interesting. Then you start to look at a slightly different playoff picture than we'd imagined, let's just say. Moving on, Bournemouth versus Coventry. Get your predictions in, please, guys. Bournemouth, draw, or Coventry. Coventry had a really good weekend, didn't they? With their victory over Bristol City. And, of course, Birmingham didn't win, although Birmingham got a creditable result. But the key result down there was the defeat for Rotherham at home to Wycombe. Now, if I'm a Coventry fan, I'm kind of sitting there thinking, if Coventry beat Rotherham on Thursday of next week in the Mad Rotherham week, then they move to 45 and they guarantee a defeat against one of their key rivals. So if I'm a Coventry fan, I'm kind of already looking at that game ahead of a very difficult trip to Bournemouth, who are in good form. And dare I say, some similarities here with Watford. Obviously, Watford have gone on a fantastic tear, but similarities in respects of, okay, new manager in, people kind of questioned the appointment and, kind of stabilise it and let the players do the work, let that extra ex-Premier League quality and the year one parachute money you can invest in wages, press home that advantage. The Bournemouth look good, don't they? And 3 straight victories, 10 points in 5. Certainly, they're looking in better nick than Reading at the moment. Of course, we can give 10 points in 5 to Barnsley as well up there. Let's have a look at the homes and aways. Get your predictions in, please, guys. Bournemouth, draw, or Coventry. Home form, that's excellent from Bournemouth. They're only behind Norwich and Watford, who've got freakishly good home records, haven't they? 39 points from 20, just off 2 points per game. 3 wins in 4 for Bournemouth, including wins against Borough, Swansea and Watford. Bournemouth are good at home at the moment, aren't they? And Coventry's away form is now, after Wycombe's victory at Rotherham, Coventry's away form is the worst in the division. Fewest points accumulated, 1 point in the last 5 away from home for Coventry. So I'm going to break the habit of a lifetime and go ahead of the chat here. Home. It seems so obvious, but this is the Championship. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat on this one. Bournemouth, home, draw, Bournemouth, home, Bournemouth, draw, Bournemouth, draw, Bournemouth, draw, Bournemouth. There you go. Lovely stuff. Guys, you are brilliant. And sensible football fans, so we get a sensible look in the chat, please leave your bias at the door with your predictions. Yeah, I know we're very emotionally invested in this season now. And for example, if you're a Watford fan, you would want Bournemouth to lose. Please use your brain rather than your heart in the predictions, guys. So we get a sensible straw poll, not like those goal of the round polls I put up where everyone just votes for the team they support. Doesn't we don't really learn anything from that, do we? So try, and you can see I literally hang my bias on the door. Try and leave your bias at the door anyway. Lecture over from me. Of course, I also believe in freedom of speech, so you can say what you want, but just remember, I may ask you to justify it at some point. Where are we going next, guys? We're going to Cardiff, who are playing Blackburn. Cardiff versus Blackburn. Get your predictions in. And Cardiff have fatally lost 2 games in a row at a very bad time in the season. Caveat that there's no good time to lose 2 games in a row, but the manner of the defeat against Sheffield Wednesday was awful as well. 5-0. However, Blackburn have been stinking it out for over 10 games now, haven't they? Get your predictions in, please. Cardiff, draw, or Blackburn. Cardiff, draw, or Blackburn. Get your predictions in. So Cardiff are now 7 points off Bournemouth. They've got 58. Let's go absolute perfection for Cardiff. Add on 18 points for 6 wins, and they still only hit 73. And we're talking about a potential high tide of, if Barnsley, Reading and Bournemouth all go at this, it could be someone with over 74, 75 points misses out. It does feel like Cardiff are done, doesn't it, in terms of the playoffs? They basically just need to win the next few games and hope for a slip and then, apply some pressure. I know the fixtures are okay, but they look a long way back. That being said, there's their home record. Ouch. 1 point in the last 3 at home. And Cardiff's away form's been good. But look at that. They've lost to Watford late. They drew 0-0 against Stoke, and then they lost at home to Forest. James Garner's goal. Slip at the wrong time for Cardiff as they chase the playoffs. It was going to be a tough ask. Blackburn's away form. I mean, there's a little purple patch in there. Beat Millwall and a draw against Norwich, and then they lost to Wickham. Strange old team this season, Blackburn, aren't they? We talked about them lots and why this is happening, but down in 17th, maybe safe there for the time being with a 3-point gap, but yeah, not good, Blackburn. I think a lot of people had them finishing in the top half. Draw, says Chris. Blackburn 1 winning 14. Draw. Beach Blackburn get burned in Cardiff. There you go. Armstrong do a goal. Still baffles me where Blackburn are. Blackburn, Cardiff, draw. Cardiff, draw. Cardiff, draw. Cardiff, draw. Cardiff, draw. Blackburn strike me as the sort of team that are kind of flaky enough to get Mick McCarthy, aren't they? Just fall into the trap and get done on transition or set play and then commit forward and concede another one or something like that. So, home. It's a home win for me, I'm afraid, which wouldn't make too much difference because I've got Bournemouth. Well, actually, close them in on Reading. We think Reading have got a hard game at Watford. Anyway, let's move on, guys, and let's go to Birmingham versus Stoke. Stoke may be on the beach, but Birmingham certainly aren't. And Birmingham are having a lovely little surge under Lee Bowyer at the moment. So much so that we kind of, we're talking about Coventry and Rotherham rather than Birmingham and Rotherham. But look at that. That's excellent from Bowyer. 7 points in 4 games down there. Brilliant stuff. Exactly the sort of mythical or not new manager bounce that Birmingham fans would have wanted. That has necessitated a 7-point gap. Never mind the gap, though. The gap feels immaterial because we all know that next week Rotherham play in their 4-game week, both Birmingham and Coventry at the New York Stadium. So the gap is what it is. But remember, Rotherham can really do some damage if they can win a game. Obviously, they've lost 3 and 4, so that is what it is. Stoke are on the beach, aren't they? Look, 11 points off the playoffs and 20 points off 22nd. So they'd had a nice little run. It was a weird one, wasn't it? Because both Millwall and Stoke were having a good run at the same time, and then they played each other, and Millwall beat Stoke to kind of be the Premier team chasing sort of 8th or 9th place. Stoke, let's look at where's the game? The game is at Birmingham. Interesting. Let's look at the home form then. And Birmingham's home form has been dreadful all season, but 3 wins in 4, just when you want it. Birmingham going for the relegation cup here again. We've got to give one of those wins to Karanka because it was against QPR, wasn't it? But since Lee Bowyer appeared, Birmingham, nice and simple football, and it's been getting results, hasn't it? Away wise, Stoke, decent in the last 2, halfway up the table generally, been 3 straight defeats before then. Does the Birmingham winning streak at home continue? Are we going to get a Lee Bowyer, Michael O'Neill type draw thing here? Sorry, there's a super chat in there somewhere. There we go. Lee, thank you, sir. We drink to you. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Lee. He's always very kind on super chat. You two can get involved like Lee and Owen have in this stream. Right, what do we got? Birmingham, home, Birmingham, home, draw, Birmingham, draw, Birmingham. Lots of stuff here for Birmingham, draw. Let's see if we can get a few more there. A helpful draw for Rotherham. There we go. Don't feel Stoke on the beach yet. And a few more draws, and Birmingham's in there. I'm going to go with the people saying draw. Let me go for a draw in this one. I just feel that compared to a couple of recent victims there, like QPR and Swansea, I think Stoke will just sit in, won't they? And Michael O'Neill it and not take too many risks. So, yes, of course, you could get a Roberts long throw or a Jutkovic physical goal or something of that nature. But I think Stoke defensively will have enough not to lose this one. So I'll go for a draw, but that's still Birmingham's improvement continuing. They look viable survivors, don't they, under Lee Bowyer? Right, QPR versus Sheffield Wednesday. Flip a coin. Go on. Good luck with this one. Some slightly erratic behaviour from both recently. QPR versus Wednesday. The game is in Shepherd's Bush. Get your predictions in, please. QPR draw or Wednesday in this one, please, in the chat. QPR draw or Wednesday. QPR, we've been full of praise for since Austin and Johansson arrived, and a 32-point run from 16 games was fantastic. However, they did go under at the weekend 3-1 at Forest. Okay, it's Chris Hughton, you know, that can happen in the Championship. But interesting that defeat came. We didn't expect it to be quite as heavy as a 3-1 defeat after good form there. QPR look in a fairly beachy type area, don't they? 18 points above the playoffs. 18 points above relegation. Norwich are 18 points above the playoffs. 18 points above relegation and 13 off the playoffs under Mark Warburton. Sheffield Wednesday are in good form. They got 7 points in 4. I can't sit here and, you know, blow smoke up Lee Bowyer and say 7 points in 4 and not Darren Moore, because they've also got 7 points in 4. And they won 5-0 at the weekend, for goodness sake. So Wednesday, a draw against Huddersfield, a win at Barnsley, a defeat away at Watford, where everybody seems to be losing, and then a win. So, look, Wednesday are upwardly mobile, aren't they? It could be a lot worse. Obviously, their position is precarious in the extreme with the 6-point deduction. Add the 6 points on there, only 1 point off Birmingham. So still relegated with the 6-point deduction, but some sense of improvement and surely full of confidence after winning 5-0. So I don't know if anyone's able to look it up or how you'd look it up. When was the last time a relegated or a team in the bottom 3 with 10 to go, wins 5-0. QPR at home, excellent. Look at that. 3 wins in the last 4. I think the defeat must be, I can look it up actually. I know they lost to Barnsley, didn't they, at home? And they lost to Huddersfield as well, interestingly enough. So if you're a Yorkshire team going to QPR, you've got away with a good result recently. Wednesday away from home. They do have the victory against Barnsley, but a lot of defeats in there and the 4th fewest points at home across the season. Tricky one to call, this one. So I'm going to go to the chat. Get your predictions in, please, guys. QPR, draw, or Sheffield Wednesday. What are we saying? Austin might be banned for 3 games. Is that being looked at? I don't know. What are we saying? Wednesday to win again. Wednesday. Rangers need to finish strong to keep these loan players. Andy Sinton and Massimo Longo derby. Lovely stuff. QPR. Entertaining draw. There you go. There's a good way out of a difficult one. QPR Wednesday. QPR Wednesday. QPR Wednesday. Thank you for all your predictions. What the hell am I going to say? Just for pure giggles, I'm going to play my joker on this one then. Why the hell not? I'm allowed 1. Just to put the cat amongst the pigeons at the bottom of the table, I'm playing the joker. Away. Go on then. Wednesday, 10 points from 5. That would put the cat among the pigeons down there. So we'll throw that one in there and move on to Wycombe versus Luton. And we've got a bit of a rising tide in the bottom 3, haven't we, at the moment? Because Wycombe are in their best form of the season. And some points going on the board down the bottom there. We had a rising tide earlier in the season for a small period, and then it bottomed out and everyone went below a point per game again, didn't they? But Wycombe at the moment, Wycombe have 10 points in 5 and have really closed up on Wednesday and Rotherham. They're only 2 points off them now. I mean, it's probably all too little too late. If Wycombe were to win their last 6 games, they would end on 48 points, which could well be enough for survival this season. But hey, that would mean 8 straight wins to finish out the season. If they were to go 2 points per game from their last 6, they'd end on 45, which has been enough on average over the last 10 years, but may not be enough this season. There is, of course, the scenario that we're getting a little rising tide now and it all levels out. And we do end the season with a 5 or a 6 point gap. Who knows? But Wycombe are having a good old crack at it at the moment. Get your predictions in, please. Wycombe, draw, Luton. Luton hit the 50 points. Excellent work for doing that. But 2 defeats since then. Who have they lost to? They lost to Barnsley on Saturday and they lost at Derby prior to that. So Luton need a little sort of pick-me-up. I suppose playing Nombe and Adebayo up top means maybe Nathan Jones is already starting to look at next season where they may well not have James Collins anymore with that contract expiring. Let's look at the homes and aways. Wycombe's home form has picked up nicely, hasn't it, in the last 5? They've got 3 wins in 5 at home, and they are no longer the worst home team in the division, although Birmingham had been that for a while, hadn't they, as well? It's Rotherham completely bottoming out there with the 5 straight home defeats you can see down there. Luton's away form, not the best, 16th in the division. However, we've had this freakish ability from Luton. Let me bring it back up, sorry. 9 goals from Luton, 7 wins and 2 draws from 9 goals. You do the maths. We've talked about it a lot on here, but miraculous efficiency from Luton. So, get your predictions in there. Wycombe versus Luton. I'm struggling with this one, so I'm going to plead the 5th. Draw, Luton, Wycombe, Luton, Wycombe, draw, Wycombe, draw, Wycombe. Someone coming on a championship stream to say how bad the championship is. Go and watch a Premier League stream then or something. Oh dear, the comments never cease to amaze me. There you go. Plenty of love for Wycombe in this one. I've already played my joker, so I can't do that again. Let's go for an unhelpful draw. I think Wickham will score in this one, which means normally a Luton away win is a clean sheet. But I do think Wickham will score. But I'm going to go for a draw nonetheless. Right, 2 to go, guys. Bristol City versus Nottingham Forest. The headlines around Bristol City all pertain to Nigel Pearson's explosive post-match burial of the Bristol City players after their defeat at Coventry at the weekend. So what Bristol City are going to want are a reaction, and they're really not going to want to go against a very wily, knowledgeable, consistent Championship manager. So they've got to go against Chris Hughton this weekend. Bristol City are in record-breakingly bad home form. Someone will tell me, I don't know if Annie is in the chat or one of our Bristol City fans. I think it's 7 on the trot they've lost at home, and it is a club record, I think. Just horrifically bad at home, and a bit of a Hail Mary from Nigel Pearson. Now, in my tribal football column, I wrote about this and made the comparison with Paul Hurst, who did this at Ipswich, tried to take on the players that were still remaining from the Mick McCarthy dressing room, threw them all under the bus, and they just down tools on him. They didn't trust him ever again, and he was sacked, I don't know, about 13 games after that. So this will go one of two ways. Obviously, Nigel Pearson has got somewhat more of a reputation in football than Paul Hurst after his brilliant work at Leicester, particularly. And we know the type of spiky, slightly confrontational at times character Nigel Pearson can be. So this is going one of two ways. But we know that Forest will be super duper well organised, hard to play against. James Garner's playing really well in central midfield. Lewis Grabban's back in and on the score sheet. Look fairly stable. We said about Forest they would bottom out, and then the fixtures got easier toward the end of the season, and it's proving that way. So get your predictions in. Bristol City, draw or Forest. Let me bring up that home form. God, look at Bristol City. Look at that streak there. Matched only by Rotherham at the moment. 0 points in the last 5. And I think it might be 7 if you wind it back straight. Home defeats. Forgive me if I'm inaccurate on that one. In terms of the away form for Forest, pretty good. Pretty good over the last 5. 8 points in 5. The only defeat for Forest away from home in those games was, go on, I bet you can guess, Watford, where everybody loses away from home, except QPR and Cardiff fans. Don't cry in the comments. Get your predictions in. Are they going to be swapping places? Go on, I'll go ahead of the chat then. Let's pile in on Bristol City and another home defeat. Away! Let's go for an away win for Forest. Why the hell not, hey? Let's find out what you guys are saying in the chat here. Forest away. Forest. Pearson went full Ben, but I'm not convinced that he has the dressing room. Away. Bristol City implosion. There you go. There's a prediction for City there, Carl. Forest. 7 away on the trot. Make that 8 on Saturday, says Robbins on tour. Forest. Yeah, 7. Forest. Reaction. What reaction? 7 home defeats in a row. Away. There you go. A lot of love on Forest on that one. Right, one more to go, and it is a big one. It's a big one. It's Huddersfield versus Rotherham. Get your predictions in. Huddersfield obviously got an absolute chasing at Norwich, 7-0, didn't they? Rotherham kind of got themselves in the position they really wanted to be in. It's all set up, home game against bottom of the table Wickham, and they got done 3-0. Ouch. So the Championship continues to confound us when we think we've got a trend in a certain direction. Huddersfield are not out of the woods yet. Obviously, good news for the teams down there is that Coventry have got to go to Bournemouth this round, which means that they might be a bit of a sitting duck this week if someone can get a victory. Huddersfield, just a 1 win in 5. I do have to say about Huddersfield, before the 7-0, there had been an improvement going back to that Cardiff game we did as a watch-along where they probably should have won that. And there'd been a bit of an upward trend up to the 43 points mark. You would still imagine, especially that they've got 7 games to go, not 6, that if you add 4 points on for Huddersfield, a win and a draw across these last 7 to take them to 47, probably be enough. But a losing streak now, coupled with a Rotherham win streak of some description or point scoring streak across the games in hand, and Huddersfield could still be in trouble. This is a key game, of course, because it is against that most dangerous of opponent, the team in 21st place, the one who you want to just stay still. If you're in that relegation chase, you just want Rotherham to just keep losing and the tide not to rise at all. Of course, Sheffield Wednesday could rise the tide, and so could Wycombe in their form at the moment. So it's not just Rotherham we're looking at, but this is an absolutely vital game for both teams. The upside for Huddersfield, of course, is that a Huddersfield win means that they go to 46. Rotherham would stay on 35. Then you have an 11-point gap. And I don't care how many games you've got in hand, if you're a Rotherham fan, 11 points is a long, long way for a team in the bottom 3 to make up, especially considering it will be 9 to go for Rotherham. And then finally, at the back end of this week, we can look at things much, much clearer. But what a week it is for Rotherham. Let's just bring it up. I've got the fixtures here for all of the bottom 4. So have a look on the right-hand side. Rotherham this week will play on Saturday, Huddersfield. QPR, they might have to go very weak with their team on that. And then they play Coventry and Birmingham. So if I bring the table back up, you will see what a week this is for Rotherham coming up. They have got to play Huddersfield, who are 19th, Coventry, who are 20th, and Birmingham, who are 21st. Of course, by the time they play them, they may not be in those positions. But if you're a Rotherham fan, can you get 2 wins in those 3 games? Because that would be utterly, utterly vital. Rotherham fans are praying for a 7-point week across the 4 games, or got it even better if they could. But 6 points from the 4 would take them to 41 with 6 to play. And you'd think, okay, something's happening here. There is, of course, the doomsday scenario here for Rotherham, that across these 4 games, they get 1 point or something like that, or even worse, 0. And, they're going into 6 games to go, but they've only got 36 points or 35 points. And then by that time, you think, okay, game over, stick a fork in them. But very, very interesting. Let's have a look at your predictions then. Huddersfield. Sorry, have I done the homes and aways? Get your predictions. Keep them coming. Huddersfield, draw, or Rotherham. Here are the homes and aways. Huddersfield have not lost at home for the last 4 games. And there's draws in there against Brentford, Cardiff, and Birmingham, with a victory also against Swansea. So what we're saying is over the last 4 games, Huddersfield have had some difficult, on paper, reading the league table opponents, and haven't lost any of them, have they? I mean, they didn't set the world alight against Brentford. It was kind of a bit of a snail race, that game, wasn't it? But they didn't lose it, did they? Rotherham had been 2 for 2 away from home, wins at Wednesday. Feels a long time ago, that one with the COVID stoppage, and Bristol City. Then they lost to in-form Millwall. They did give it a good go, though, and had Michael Smith not fudged an 84th minute penalty, even with the 10 men, by the way, Richard would have been sent off. They would have got a point there. Right, what are you guys saying here? So, I'm so sorry, Blue Nose Jam. I'm going to have to mute you because you've written draw about 500 times and I can't read the comments. Just put your comment once. Let's have a look here. Right, Rotherham. Don't have a fight in your dog in the fight, but I love your comment. Thank you very much, Philip. What else are we saying here? Rotherham, draw, home. Huddersfield, draw. Says Callum the Cov fan. Yep, draw, please. Rotherham, draw. Awful versus terrible. Away win for the terrible. Wow. Home, Rotherham, draw. Rotherham must win or they go down. We'll speak after Thursday against Coventry, Eli, but draw, away. Simon's playing the Joker with a 3-3 draw. I could do that, couldn't I? No, I've already played it, haven't I? Rotherham, home. Rotherham. Crunch time has started for Rotherham. Agreed. Draw. Do you know what? I'm going to dive in with you guys, I think. Let's go for a gargantuanly unhelpful draw. Whoever put, who's Gaza, terrible versus whatever. Feels like the unwinnable game, this one, doesn't it? Where we might get the unhelpful draw, which, if you're a Coventry fan, might be good news. I mean, look, let's just bring up the relegation picture real quick. That's not it. Sorry. So, who's got the easiest game? Birmingham at home to Stoke, Rotherham away to Huddersfield, Wednesday at QPR, Wickham at home to Luton. Doesn't feel like much in it across those games, doesn't it? There's no, obviously, Coventry going to Bournemouth is probably the trickiest, just one above. But in terms of the bottom four, not much in it at all. So we will see. Right. I think we're there. We've come up the hour. Let me tell you what's going on the channel over the weekend. So Patreon exclusive Q&A. Feel free to go and sign up on Patreon. Let me stick that nonsense up. That's going up later. Then Dearly Departed, that'll be going up early tomorrow morning for the ex-championship teams in the Premier League. Then it's going to be Watford versus Reading. Watch along tomorrow night, 7:30. And then we'll be doing the super stream. We'll go early. We'll watch all of Millwall Swansea. So we're going to be watching both Watford's game and Swansea's game on the channel and then reacting to Norwich and Brentford. Remember, there is that chance that we have a promotion at the weekend if Norwich win and Brentford and Swansea do not win. It could happen. We'll know way more by the time we get to 3 p.m. because, of course, Swansea will already have played. So we're just looking at 2 results by that point. It's on a knife edge, isn't it, guys? You love to see it. Right, let me know if you want a shout out before we go, and I will service that need. Let me just do the plugs really quickly. Thank you to the Donovan brothers, Millwall fans. They are in loving memory of Michael of South East London, a lifelong Millwall fan, admirer of this show. They sponsor these shows all the way through the season. Brilliant from them. I've already plugged the Patreon, but if you're watching now, I can still see loads of people are watching. Thank you for the support. Please thumbs up on the video, even after the fact it draws more people, pushes it up those lovely rankings, doesn't it? And subscribe, ring the bell. We have over 15,000 subscribers now, which is wonderful, wonderful news. Right, should we do some shout outs in the chat? Adam, give you a shout out with Tamu Pookie in his picture there. Steve, I'll give this one's games. Got to be done, Steve. I've got to be professional here, however dour it might be. Shout out to Amanda and Liam, who's probably going to watch his 17th football match of the weekend on Saturday. James, who's over on Patreon as well. Thank you, James. Legend. Kieran, shout out to him. Up the Blues, keep right on. Looking good for Birmingham at the moment. Look viable survivors, don't they? Mr. E, who's also on Patreon, Reading fan there. Thanks, Ben and Chet. Always good fun. Right. I think we are all there. Let's give a shout out to Robert as well. Robert Carlson in the chat there. You sound Swedish, Robert, sorry. Hope I'm not denigrating your genealogy. Just a complete guess based on the 2 S's in your surname, fella. Scandinavian of some distraction, I am sure. Russell, Barnsley fan there. Thank you. Christopher, thanks. Pray for Wednesday. I think we're at that point now with Wednesday, isn't it? Divine intervention, but 7 points from 4 for Wednesday. Could be worse, couldn't it? Hey, right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And it's a big over and out from me. And I'll see you over the weekend for the rest of the content as we get to the decisive movement in the season. Over and out. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button to see more videos from this channel. Hit the subscribe button and to be notified every time we upload. Ring the bell for those notifications to come through on your device. If you really want to support the channel and me as a content creator, I will be eternally grateful if you head over to the merch store and grab something, or support over on Patreon, patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom. Thank you for your time. Go and watch another video.